next slide. You didn't do too bad there. You did, but you never get the number one thing, believe it or not. Communication, we got logical thinking. Yeah, you would think that. Teamwork, yeah. Why? Why would it be teamwork? Teamwork because whenever you go to write software, it is a team thing. It's never an individual. It may at some stage go down to an individual who sits and says, right, I have to complete this task, but it almost certainly forms part of another thing. And in fact, there's a real dynamic change in the way when I programmed in comparison to the way it's done now, and it's a thing known as paired programming, where you actually have two people sitting doing roughly the same thing. You have one person watching and giving the navigation, or one typing, and they bounce ideas off each other. It's very dynamic, it's very interesting. Two heads are better than one. So totally away from that on your own thing in terms of programming and development software. Patience, very important. Project management, you mentioned analysis, you mentioned attention to detail, you mentioned presentation skills, absolutely. I'll bring you back to the nerd, okay, or whatever we call them at the start there. That individual, and the one thing I noticed when I worked in software and when I was managing in the teams, I used to look around and go, I have no idea what anybody's doing here, because everybody's just typing away, and you'd have to go and talk to them, say, how you doing, or things. So that communication thing comes in there too. But because you write software, or because you're involved in a company which is maybe talking to a customer, presentation skills are really, really essential, because you can't just, what you don't do in isolation. So it's really important. Diplomacy, for sure. Facilitation, yes, you have to work with people, as simple as that. There's the biggest one they come back with, problem solvers. Problem solvers are the thing that the companies come back with. Number one thing we want you to be able to do is be a problem solver. And that opens up the way that the industry tends to be. It's all about, it's almost, as I sort of say to students, it's being accepting that you don't know everything, but you'll go and find that out. In other words, your day becomes, okay, I'm going to start off at the point where I'm not entirely sure exactly what I'm doing here, because this is a brand new problem to me, so I got to solve it. And it's a great kick out of doing that. There's a bit of pain in figuring out, well, how am I going to do this? Who do I involve? Can I do it myself? Where do I find the information to solve this problem? How do I build a solution to this problem? And then you go, ta-da, and you've got it. It's a brilliant outcome for a day or a week or a month or whatever you're working on. And it's all those many sort of problem solving things. It's always a challenge. Never a day is the same. You probably have heard some of these things before. Tech jobs. There's a list of them. Okay, go Google. There's much more. Software developer isn't just, they don't really advertise jobs as programmers anymore, because the development isn't just about programming. It's about talking to customers, it's about talking to your team, it's about organising, it's about design, it's about actually then coding at some stage, it's about testing, it's about installation. So it's not just that one single thing in there, a presentation element in there too. Data scientist, big thing going forward. And then there's a whole list of other jobs, managers, IT managers. These are very DBAs, database administrators, networking analysts, networking architects. These are all tech specific type jobs, and you probably would need a qualification in computing in some way, shape or form to be there. So whether it's an undergraduate degree or a postgraduate degree, there's just tons in the variety of jobs I've mentioned in there, and that list is by no means exhaustive. But regardless of what degree you're on at the minute, this is a big industry. It's a big industry for NI. Marketing, communications, technical writing is a really important aspect. So one of the friend who's an English lit degree, he's a technical writer. So English lit degree, where'd that come from? He's a technical writer in computing, in the software industry. HR is a big thing, recruitment and talent management. As I mentioned, and the employers have mentioned this to you, I'm sure also, they cannot get enough people, therefore they have to have really on their game to get people involved. HR, recruitment, talent management is a big thing for them. Finance, I've mentioned that fintech is a big thing that's coming here. It's already here. We have one of the fintech companies asked me during the week about setting up a degree program or a postgraduate program about pushing that a bit more, so we can get people qualified to get into there, because again, they're starting to find they can't get enough people. Compliance, risk analysis, business development, customer success, all of those things are other jobs in industry, not necessarily people who have to have a computing degree, but an interest in technology would be definitely of interest there too.
What we're finding in the Belfast market at the minute as regards IT is there's nearly more jobs than there are people to fill them, which is why, you know, a company like Risk Connect, and I'll get into this a little later, we'll talk to anybody. If you're smart, we want to hear from you, regardless of your background. In terms of, I've got a question there, how can I do the translation if I don't have a technology background? You know, with Risk Connect and any other company, there are masses of training programs. Nobody gets thrown out on their own to just figure this stuff out. You're always partnered up with more senior people. And eventually, it's like anything, eventually you go to more and more of these client meetings and it starts to seep in. And then you get to the point 2 years later where you can very confidently go out and have a conversation with the director of risk at Apple and talk to them about the risk management program and how they can use our software to better their risk management needs.
But I was thinking as I was doing that role, you know, I'm from a non-IT background. How am I going to sell IT services to customers? But, you know, the great thing about working for an IT company is you have a range of skill sets. And in all the roles that I have done, I always work as a team player. So if I'm out talking to a chief executive or a CTO, I can work with those people and communicate very well. From a technical perspective, I bring in the sales specialists who are technical to talk the talk around tech. But one of the things I can do is, and what I've learned to do is, whenever we're talking about tech, you know, bring that technical information into how are they going to solve our customers' problems. So, you know, I've had a lot of international experience, public and private sector experience, and, you know, what I would say is that people studying non-IT degrees, you know, you can definitely have a career in the tech sector.
But as a result, you start to ask yourself, well, there's a heck of a lot more than just computing, and you'd be absolutely right. And that's one of the key messages here. Most of the people I work with don't actually program. That's just me, but a lot of people program in my business, but most of the people are involved in things which you wouldn't call them programmers. Absolutely, we have programmers, but we have product managers, the people who help manage the product, design the product, make sure that the right features done first, second, third, fourth, get the ducks lined up before we start knocking them down. We have UX, user experience engineers, designers, we have researchers, and that's where I'm at the moment. I'm leading the team of technology innovation research and driving an innovation program and architecture. We're looking at products which are going to be solving the risks that people face in their lives as a protection company, an insurance company, but more a protection company. We're looking at these new products, everything from auto insurance, home insurance, through to car sharing, telematics, or even just that extended warranty or roadside services that you pick up, like the AA, RAC. What are you going to be when you grow up? I still don't know, but I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be fun, because technology's everywhere.